What if America's factories didn't just disappear by accident? What if the steady loss of good-paying jobs wasn't just progress? We're taught a simple story about why things changed. But the truth is tied to a powerful, old system that once made America boom. You're about to see the real force that shaped our modern world. That system had a name, the American system, and it wasn't a secret. In fact, one of its biggest supporters, President William McKinley, was pretty proud of it. He believed in protecting American businesses with something called protective tariffs, basically a fee on goods from other countries to make American-made stuff more competitive. And after nearly 30 years of this strategy, McKinley could stand up and say that America was number one. Number one in farming, number one in mining, and number one in manufacturing. This idea of building things at home and protecting your own industries helped power America for decades, even leading into the country's golden age after World War II. But that feels like a different world now, doesn't it? Today, the gap between the rich and everyone else is huge. The top 1% holds more wealth than almost all other Americans combined. And when you look at what a paycheck can actually buy, the average worker is making less than they did 50 years ago. So what changed? Why did we walk away from the very system that made the country an economic giant? Let's dig in. To understand why that system disappeared, you first have to understand what it actually was. The American system wasn't just about trade rules or taxes. The real goal was much bigger: to make the United States completely self-sufficient. The core idea was that a truly great nation shouldn't have to rely on anyone else for the things it needs to survive and thrive. One of the key thinkers behind this was an industrialist named Joseph Wharton. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because he founded the famous Wharton School of Business with the specific goal of teaching this protectionist philosophy. He put it simply, a great country needs a perfect balance of three things: farming, mining, and manufacturing. If you have a healthy dose of all three, you can make and grow everything your people need, right at home. This is where the protective tariffs came in. They were the engine that made the whole system run. By making goods from other countries more expensive, they gave a massive advantage to American farms, American mines, and American factories. It was a deliberate strategy to build up our own industries from the inside out, instead of just buying cheap stuff from overseas. And for decades, it seemed to be working exactly as planned. This was the system that let McKinley boast that America was number one across the board. The trophies, he called them, of nearly 30 years of protecting American industry. But it wasn't just about national pride or big corporate profits. The numbers from that era show that this growth was felt by ordinary people, too. During America's golden age, real wages, meaning what a person's paycheck could actually buy, jumped by a staggering 53%. It was a system designed to make the entire country prosperous, from the factory floor to the farmer's field. So how exactly did this system work? What did a protective tariff actually do? Well, the idea goes all the way back to one of the country's founders, Alexander Hamilton. He looked at the brand new United States and saw a huge problem. Established countries, like Great Britain, had massive, efficient factories. America had farms, and a few tiny, startup workshops. Hamilton knew that these little American companies, what he called infant industries, could never compete on price. The big British factories could just flood the market with cheap goods and put them out of business overnight. His solution was the protective tariff. Think of it like a wall. By adding a tax to foreign goods, the government instantly made American-made stuff the cheaper, smarter option for consumers. It gave those infant American industries breathing room. It was a shield that let them grow, innovate, and eventually stand on their own 2 feet without getting crushed by foreign giants. This wasn't some fringe idea either. It became a core American belief for over a century. Abraham Lincoln was a huge supporter. In 1847, he basically said, "Give us a protective tariff, and we will have the greatest nation on earth." Leaders at the time saw it as a matter of survival. Even early free traders like John Adams completely changed their minds after seeing cheap British goods get dumped on the U.S. market. He said it was a deliberate plan to annihilate American manufacturing before it could even get started. That's why Joseph Wharton, the guy who founded the business school, put it so bluntly. He said a tariff could defeat the foreign plunderer better than a fort. To them, this wasn't just about economics. It was about national defense. For over a century, this system was America's undisputed economic engine. and it was firing on all cylinders. By the turn of the 20th century, President William McKinley could stand up and say, "We lead all nations in agriculture. We lead all nations in mining. We lead all nations in manufacturing." It wasn't just talk, it was a fact. This was the system that built an industrial superpower. The decades that followed World War II were the absolute peak. The country's total economic output, its GDP, skyrocketed by 169%. Per capita personal income, basically what the average person earned, nearly doubled. This wasn't just a theory anymore. It was the proven foundation of the American dream. But then, in the 1970s, a totally new idea started to take hold in Washington. A new generation of leaders looked at this old engine, the protective tariffs, the regulations, the entire focus on building from within, and they saw it as old-fashioned. They believed it was actually holding the country back from even greater wealth. The promise was simple: if we tear down the walls and embrace total free trade, everyone will win. They argued it would lower prices for consumers and force American companies to become leaner and more competitive on a global stage. So, starting in the Carter administration, they began to systematically dismantle it. Piece by piece, the old system was taken apart through deregulation. But the promised prosperity for all never quite arrived. Instead of spreading the wealth, the new system started to concentrate it at the very, very top. The numbers today are just staggering. According to Senator Bernie Sanders, the top 1% now owns more wealth than the bottom 93% of the country combined. And what about the average worker? Well, their real weekly wages, what a paycheck can actually buy, are lower today than they were over 50 years ago. It's almost like a forgotten warning came true. Back in 1933, Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis said, "We can have democracy in this country, or we can have great wealth concentrated in the hands of the few, but we cannot have both." At his rallies, he started talking about the American system by name, bringing up historical figures like Henry Clay. He'd quote Clay, saying that trade has to be fair, equal, and reciprocal, not just a one-way street where foreign goods flood in. He even brought up Abraham Lincoln, reminding people that Lincoln warned if America dropped its protective policies, it would produce want and ruin among our people. At the same time, you've got more than 85 million people who are either uninsured or don't have enough coverage to feel safe. And maybe the scariest number of all, nearly half of all older workers have absolutely nothing saved for retirement. Zero. So when you hear calls to bring back a 100-year-old idea like protective tariffs, it's not coming out of nowhere. It's growing from the very real sense that the system, as it stands today, just isn't working for the average person anymore.